Hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry about the confusion. I was planning on going live yesterday to talk about reintroduction, but I had some issues with childcare and just other things, life going on. So I'll give everybody just a minute to jump on live. I hope you guys are feeling great as you finish the Whole30, and I want to talk to you today about reintroduction and about what to do if you start to feel like crap during the reintroduction. So I'm going to give you some simple tools, some alternatives if you start to have problems or find you have problems with a certain food group. Hey Lauren, how's it going? I know you guys are doing the reintroduction next week, so you'll have some quick tips to come back to. I really just want to talk about guided how we go through the reintroduction. So if you guys don't have it, hey Karen, how are you? I want you guys to go to your book and go to the reintroduction chapter because that's really going to be very important for you to read through that. And I just want to give you just kind of the guide of how we're going to do this over the next week. People tend to sometimes when they finish the Whole30, they're like, woo, I'm done. Let's go out to dinner and eat all the things. And you can do that, but you're going to feel like garbage the next day. And you may mess up the science experiment that we're doing that is help bringing you into self-awareness of your body, of what causes you inflammation, or maybe something that you didn't know before was causing you inflammation or making you feel bad. But now when you reintroduce it, because you kind of have a clean slate, you can be very aware of how you feel. So the reintroduction piece, I would say, is actually the most important part of Whole30. I literally do not give a crap if everybody had wine on Whole30, because to me, that's something that when you drink it in excess will definitely cause you inflammation and to not feel good. But it's not like a food that we're consuming every day that can cause chronic inflammation in our body unless we're an alcoholic, right? Which can cause severe damage. So for those of you guys that had slip-ups, or, we all did, okay? It's okay. That's part of the journey. It's not a perfect journey. It's your journey. It's about creating self-awareness for you. So reintroduction, for those of you guys that started a couple days early like me, I've already started reintroducing, but for most of you guys, today is day one of reintroduction. So how you're going to do this is start with legumes and beans, okay? So this can be anything like lentils, black beans, hummus. Lauren says, I have a toddler. Of course you're an alcoholic. I know, me too. And Whole30 wine is always the hardest thing for me to give up. I usually end up having a glass around week 3. I've done Whole30 twice before without wine completely, but I've done Whole30 like 6 times. So yeah, wine is really, really hard. But I can say this, wine when you reintroduce doesn't cause the profound effects that we see from some of the other foods. So I actually don't worry about that much when people slip up on that. Okay, so day one today is going to be reintroduction of beans, legumes. So what I want you to try doing today, hey Lane, hey Tamara, is going to be adding in some black beans to your food. I made a black bean soup to start the reintroduction. Start eating some hummus with some vegetables, and the rest of your diet is going to stay Whole30, okay? And then what you're going to do for the next 2 days is go back to the Whole30, okay? And you're going to literally kind of watch and wait. Now, sometimes I'll keep doing legumes on day 2 if I don't feel that bad. Sometimes it takes 24 hours to kind of assess and see how you feel. And good news is most people don't have problems with legumes, okay? Most people don't have problems with beans, lentils, as long as they're soaked and sprouted and getting a lot of that phytic acid out of them. But you may notice that you have some digestive problems. Hey Lane, good morning. So you need to be just very conscious and aware of how you feel. You need to be conscious of digestive changes. You need to be conscious of headaches or lethargy. Anything that may come up for you that's kind of new, now is the time to be very attuned to that. So then day 2 to 3, they say go back to the Whole30. And do nothing but the Whole30. Now, sometimes I'll still keep beans or legumes in, but I won't eat it at every meal. On day 1 of the reintroduction for beans and legumes, they actually recommend that you eat it with each meal. So you're really starting to see how your body feels. If you feel pretty good, then great. Okay, check. Okay, beans and legumes are good for me. Okay, so day 4, and I'll probably remind you guys on day 4 what we're doing. We're going to be reintroducing non-gluten grains, okay? So that's gluten-free oats, that's rice, that's corn, quinoa. So those kind of things that do not have the gluten protein in them, but are grains, okay? So yes, more of those substance-like things. So you can eat rice instead of your cauliflower rice. So on day 4, you are going to reintroduce non-gluten grains. Usually we like to do it like multiple times throughout the day, so you can kind of give your body a chance to assess them. And so then you're going to go back to the Whole30 for 2 days, okay? And like I said, I don't think it's a big deal if you eat rice on day 4 of the reintroduction of non-gluten grains, and then you feel okay and you eat it the next day. But the book, just so you know, does tell you to go back to Whole30 for 2 days. But this whole piece is about, this is the science experiment part. This is the part about awareness of your body and seeing how you feel. Most people are not going to have a ton of problems with non-gluten grains. That's what I've seen in people that do Whole30 a lot and do the reintroduction. Now, day 7 is going to dairy, okay? So we're not introducing gluten grains yet, okay? Just non-gluten grains first on day 4. Go back to the Whole30, day 5 and 6. And then day 7, we're reintroducing dairy, okay? And so what I'm going to talk about at the end of this Facebook Live, if you guys start to have problems, I'm going to give you some alternatives if you have problems with these certain food groups, okay? So we're going to reintroduce dairy. Maybe have a little bit of milk in your coffee. Maybe have a little bit of cheese. Cheese can have profound effects on you. It has casomorphones in it, which are morphine-like substances that can cause lethargy. So the first time that Benton reintroduced cheese, he was on the couch all afternoon and had a really, really bad attitude. And I was like, that's it. You're never eating cheese again because you're not nice on cheese. And so cheese is super important to assess and see how you feel. I will say this, if you feel like you have a problem with cheese or you notice lethargy or tiredness, it can also give you changes in your digestive pattern because of those casomorphones. It actually slows down digestion. So be very attuned on day 7 when you reintroduce dairy, how your digestive system is, okay? So it's okay, Tamara, you can come back and watch the recording. So be very, very attuned to how dairy affects you, meaning that if you've been having, yes, and we're going to talk about bowel movements. If you've been having regular bowel movements every day and your digestive pattern has been better on Whole30 and then all of a sudden you're not going to the bathroom for a couple days, that's what cheese does to you. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you feel. Okay, and then day 10, this is the tricky one, and this is where people tend to be very afraid, but sometimes have problems, is introducing gluten grains. So rye, barley, anything with wheat in it, basically. Beer. Yay! So all the things that have gluten in them that maybe you were eating before, you know, maybe you have some bread with your dinner, maybe you have, you know, your cream of wheat or whatever you eat in the morning, or, you know, a piece of toast, something like that, but some way to kind of assess. I want to tell you guys that gluten and wheat in this country has been hybridized and changed over the last 50 to 100 years. It's very different than the ancient wheat that we're familiar with. That we used to have, and it's actually sprayed heavily with pesticides in this country, unless you buy organic. So I just want to give you a quick tip. And we're still going to walk through the reintroduction of the groups. I'm not going to leave you. We'll be talking about it each day. I'll be putting reminders of what you're reintroducing each day. So this is a fantastic book that I recommend all of you guys read. If you start gluten reintroduction and you notice lethargy, if you notice brain fog, if you notice mood disturbances, if you notice stomach discomforts or headaches, this is written by a cardiologist, and he goes through and describes all of the scientific facts behind what they've done to wheat, and why we have this sort of epidemic of gluten intolerance. So it's not like wheat became bad overnight, okay? Wheat classically is a very nutrient-dense food. But we've done a lot of bad things to it. And so our body receives it differently now that it has a different genetic structure than it used to. So this is a great resource if you have problems with wheat. I will tell you this, the first time that we did Whole30 the whole way through, we discovered that we had issues with dairy and with wheat. Dairy and cheese gave me acne, and wheat gave me extreme mood disturbances, depression, anger for 2 or 3 days, so much that I reintroduced it 6 times, not believing it was that because I didn't want to believe it. And so When Benton reintroduced wheat, we figured out that the nasal congestion and allergies and sinus problems he had had his whole life were all related to a gluten intolerance. So we're talking about life-changing revelations during the reintroduction period that this could possibly be for you guys. If you start to have a problem with wheat, or you feel like you do, don't freak out. You can have other alternatives. You can have other alternatives that are actually taste fantastic. We love these Simple Milk crackers. They're almond flour crackers. They're fantastic. Nadine stocks these at the general store. And this is actually what we use as like our pizza crust and bread. We love the Simple Mills almond flour bread. This is so easy to make, and we make muffins out of it, okay? So don't worry, when I post the graphic reminding you that we're introducing gluten grains, and I hear from you guys, if you guys are having a lot of problems, I'm gonna give you lots of alternatives, including for dairy, okay? We love cashew milk, we love cashew yogurt. There's a lot of alternatives out there nowadays, so I don't want you guys to be afraid during the reintroduction period if you find you're having a problem with a food, that you feel like you're in a cage or a prison and you can never enjoy these foods again. There's always alternatives, okay? So welcome to Reintroduction Week. It's going to be so fun. This is an experiment on your body to lead you into greater self-awareness of how food affects you and to help you start on a healthier lifestyle, okay? You guys feel free to post any questions after the Facebook Live about reintroduction. I will be reminding you each day. So like today, I'm going to post a graphic. Okay, today we are reintroducing non-gluten grains, beans, legumes, etc. And I'll post a graphic on day 4, I'll post a graphic on day 7 and day 10, okay? So I'll be your reminder for that so you don't feel like you have to write it on your calendar. I've really enjoyed doing this in the group setting with you guys. It's been so fun for me. This Whole30 was a little challenging for me once I got to the end. I know everybody's had some slip-ups, and that's okay. We did too. It's all right. It's fine. It's part of the journey. So don't feel bad about that. And we will chat soon. You guys have a great rainy day Wednesday.